Hi, good afternoon, class. I am Fabiola, and we are going to go over Unit 3 of our lecture. So, hopefully, you're watching this video, and we'll go over it pretty quickly before we return to school next week and start working on the student book. So, let's kick it off. Unit 3. Unit 3 will be all about going to school. So here are the lessons that are covered in Unit 3. We're going to start off with Lesson 1, which is our vocabulary. It's all going to be about school activities. In listening and speaking, we're going to look at helping children with school. So like parents who help with homework, meet with the teacher, things like that. We'll have conversations around that topic. And grammar, we're going to study how to use the words should and have to. And then moving on to reading. In reading, which is lesson 4, we're going to read about effective study habits. So ways that students can prepare for tests and do homework in a better manner to get them on the track to have a good grade. Then in lesson 5, we're gonna go over giving your opinion about a school issue. This will be the writing topic because we lost some time with the snow this week. I'm not sure if we're gonna do both reading and writing. We might just do reading for Unit 3, which is the effective study habits, and then in Unit 4, we'll focus on the writing. So I think for this unit, we'll skip lesson 5. Then in lesson 6, we're going back to listening and speaking, and we're going to learn how to ask for time off work. Keeping with the whole school theme, if you ever have to go to a conference at your kid's school or an open house, anything like that, how do you ask for time off work to go help your students at the school? In lesson 7, we're going to go back to grammar and we're going to learn and practice how to use adjectives or noun phrases plus the infinitive. In lesson 8, we'll go back to listening and speaking and we're going to learn to communicate with your child's teacher. How do you talk to a teacher when the school sends you emails about your students or your kids? How do you handle that situation? Then in community, we're going to learn about dealing with bullies. And in this lesson, I'll go over bullies, what that word means. In lesson 10, we'll head back to grammar and we'll learn about the simple past. So things that happened before right now. And then finally in lesson 11, which we'll talk about that in this lecture, but we won't do it in the workbook, is separating work life and family life. All right, so let's get started. So we all know that we always start off the unit with our vocabulary. So as mentioned earlier, in this unit, all of our vocabulary will be around school things, so school activities. We'll talk about children, some words that use children, books, computers, homework. I know there's always a lot of homework, but we will talk about that. Tests. Nobody likes tests, but they help to see where we're at on things. And what these words describe and what students do in school. So that's going to be all part of our Unit 1. So for example, if I were to ask you, what do they do with books? What do students do with books? You can say they read the book, they study the book. Those will be some of the vocabulary. Or what do students do with computers? They can do homework on them, they can take tests, they can study. And as you saw this week during the snow days, a lot of people then did online learning. So we can even say with computers, you can take a class online. So those will all be the vocabulary words we'll look at in Unit 3. And we'll go more over them when we go through the book. Some more words that you're going to see in this unit. You're going to see the word persuade. Persuade is, and that's this word right here. Persuade is a fancy word to say convince. So it is a verb, and it means to cause or make someone believe that something is true. Best way to think about this is, for example, let's say your friend is going to go buy a car. And you're also going because you're thinking about buying a car, but maybe at the end of the year or next year or when you saved up money. Not right now, but in the future. And you decide to go with your friend because you want to see what cars they have for when you're ready to buy the car. And you get there, their friends talking, looking at car, and a salesperson comes and they start talking to everyone. They start talking to your friends, start talking to you about it. And all of a sudden they start telling you, oh, we have a good deal, you should buy now, we can get you approved, everything that you can think of to convince you to buy the car now and not wait. That is called persuading. You are convincing someone to do something or to believe something is true. So we'll see the word persuade in our units for 3. And you're going to see the word play. So play is an interesting word. P-A-L-Y, right here. It means 2 things. It means to play, like the kids, they go outside and play, or they're playing a game. But to play also means in the theater. When you go see a show live in a theater, that is also called a play. And you use the words, it's the same word, but you use it differently. When we say play, like the kids, how they play, we use it as a verb. It means to enjoy an activity. If we use it like when you go to the theaters to watch a show, we use play as a noun, and it's a theatrical performance or a film. So we'll see the word play used in this unit a lot, but just remember, there are 2 plays. One is play the verb, and then play the noun, which is when you go to the theater. All right, let's go to the next one. Now we're going to talk about what parents do. So in the next unit, when we get to listening and speaking, I believe is in lesson 2, we are going to talk about what parents do to help their children. Every parent is different. They help their kids differently. Right here on the board, I have the 3 most common ones. Parents help the kids with homework. Parents talk to the teachers. And parents make sure that the kids study and do homework. So everyone always knows that if your kids have homework, you tell them before they go play, before they go to bed, did you do your homework? Even if you don't understand the homework, you still ask them because you know it's important. So, and you're helping them make sure they use their time correctly. So we're going to practice some conversations in lesson 2 about things that parents do to help their children in school. Just really quick side note, I don't know if any of you who have children in school have ever heard of a school counselor. They usually have them at every school, elementary, middle school, and high school. And it is a person. A school counselor is not a teacher. The school counselor is someone to help the kids whenever they're having problems. If the kid is getting angry a lot or having a hard time in class, but it's not academic, it's not that they're learning, it's that they're just being like kind of bad. The school will send them to this counselor so that the counselor can find out what's going on with the kid. Why are all these problems happening? And what this kid needs to do better in school. So again, the school counselor focuses on academic behavior and social problems of the student. They usually come up with a plan and help find ways to fix these issues. Usually, to be a counselor in a school, you have to have a master's degree or a PhD. And a PhD just means a doctorate degree. So we have the different levels of degrees. We have the high school diploma, the associate degree, which you get here at Mountain View, a bachelor's degree, which you get at a university, then a master's degree, and then the highest you can get is a doctorate degree, a PhD. So just so you have that information, because you will see a school counselor mentioned in our unit. Cultural note, something you guys are also going to see is the word semester. So we use it a lot in the college, and you'll see it a lot in schools. A semester is the time that you are in a school for a period. So for example, right now we are in the spring semester. Spring semester counts from January all the way to May. That is spring 2023 for Dallas College. Then we move on to the summer semester, which is May, June, and July. Finally, we have our our fall semester, which is August, September, October, November, December. And then we also have a winter semester, which is in half December, half January. So those are the 4 semesters we have here at Dallas College. Some other colleges and universities, they have their calendar broken up differently. They do trimesters, which is a quarter of the school year. So a trimester would be January to March. That's trimester 1. Trimester 2 would be April to May, something like that. Other schools have quarters, which is the 4th. And those would be, they would be a little smaller. We don't use quarters here in Texas. We use semesters. But you'll see that. In this unit, they're just going to talk about semesters. So just remember, we have spring semester, January to May, summer semester, May to July, fall semester, August to December, and winter semester, December to January. So those are the 4 semesters we're going to see in our unit and the ones we see in Dallas College. Okay, let's keep going. And when we go to, we're going to do some pronunciation. We are going to look at some words that are called phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs, what does that mean? It's a verb, we know that, and we have it right here. The verb goes first, and then we include a particular. When you put them together, they make a phrasal verb. So what do I mean by that? So let's take in the example, we have the verb fall right here. We know fall is to when you fall down, or when you fall off the stairs, or we know it as the season, fall, when it's October and it's cold and the leaves start to fall to the ground. So we know what fall means. We know the word behind means someone who is in the back of you. You have to turn around to see them because they are behind you. Now, by themselves, fall is your verb, and then we have the particular behind. But if we put them together, we make fall behind. Fall behind does not mean like you fall to the ground or you're someone's in front of you. It means that you cannot keep up with a class or a group. You're falling behind. So what a phrasal verb is, you take 2 words, a verb and a particular, that mean different things. But when you put them together, they mean something else. That's what we're looking at. You don't have to memorize this too much. Just know that we're going to see some words like this, like fall behind. And when we see them in the unit next week, when we're working in the book, I will stop and show you what they are and tell you what they mean, because they can be example. They can be hard. In this example, we used the word fall behind. Again, it doesn't mean someone or something falls. It means that someone or something is not doing a thing on time. That's what fall behind is. An example would be, let's say right now everyone in your class has done all the homework. They have done all the homework for unit 1 and 2. but one student has not done any homework. They have done zero homework. That student who did zero, and everyone else who did all the homework, that student fell behind the rest of the class because everyone else completed the homework, but that one student fell behind and has not done any homework. That is a phrasal noun. So the only thing to remember here is a phrasal noun is two words that mean different things, but when you put them together, they make a new meaning. And again, when I go through the textbook next week, I'll highlight them as we read them, and we'll go over what that new phrase means. Then in grammar, we're going to look at the words should and have to. So, should and have to. Should, the easiest way to remember it is something that is recommended. You should do your homework. That means I recommend you do it. Have to means you have no choice. It's a requirement. You need to do it. So let's look at some examples for that. If I say Maria should take certain classes, I'm giving it a suggestion or advice. This is what I think Maria is supposed to do. They should take these classes. But if I say Maria, has to take 5 levels of ESL, I mean it is important, required, or necessary for Maria to do it. So Maria has to or have to take 5 levels of ESL. There is no recommendation or choice. It needs to get done. When we say should, it's just a recommendation, advice, or suggestion. So let's look at the other two examples. If I ask the question, should I see a doctor? I'm asking for advice. Do you think I'm supposed to see a doctor? Do you recommend I see a doctor? But if I say, do I have to go today? I'm asking you, is it important that I go today? Is it required that I go today? So that's the difference between should and have to. Advice, requirements. Oh, sorry. More examples on it. Which question is asked if something is necessary? So when we want to know, do I have to do something? We ask, do I have to? When we want to know if it's necessary. If I want to ask for advice, we say, should I? So that's how we separate the two. And we're going to practice this. So don't worry about it. This is just to see what it's going to be like. And I'm only throwing this as a note. We're going to see in the unit that they're going to talk about something called the SATs. The SAT is just a word. It's the name of a test that students take in high school when they get ready to apply for college. Not everyone has to take it, but students who are looking to go to college straight from high school, they take this test called the SAT. You don't have to memorize this. I'm just letting you know so when you see the word SAT test, we know what they're talking about in the unit. Okay, so reading. So we're going to do the reading in this unit, and it's going to be about effective study habits. So always, whenever we do the reading of our articles, remember the things we look for. The title, the introductions, which the introductions always have our main idea, topic, sentence, then our details, and then our conclusion. And the conclusion, all it is the main idea all over again. So they just go back. Some skills you're going to see in this article are going to be the words recall, which means to remember. If I ask you to recall something, I'm telling you to remember something. If effective is another word you're going to see, and I think I've already, effective right here, just like it says in our title. Effective means it works good or works well. So if something is working effectively, it means it's working well or working good. So we'll go more into that when we do our reading. This will be the writing unit, which I believe is lesson 6. We're going to skip it. We're not going to do this in the book, but you can see in the presentation, our writings are always the same. We pick a topic, we pick a title, topic sentence, our details. That's how we set it up. So I'll go over it a little bit, but we won't do this in the book. So whenever you're writing a paragraph, this is the order we follow. We underline our title, which is what the article is about. We include our topic sentence, is the number 1 sentence, the first one we write off, and it tells us what is in the paragraph. Then when we organize our details, we always start our details with first, second, you can say third, fourth, doesn't matter, however many details you have, and our last detail is finally. So here's an example of how we use first, second, and finally in a paragraph. And I'll read the paragraph for you. It says examples of a progress paragraph. Our title's in red. It should be underlined, but that's okay. The title reads, Ways to Make Breaking Up Easier. And then our first sentence is our topic sentence. It gives us the main idea. It says, breaking up with a boyfriend or girlfriend can be easier said than done. But here are 5 steps that may help the breaking up process. So, right here, just by reading this first sentence, I can already tell you that the main idea of my paragraph is how to break up with someone, an easier process. That is our topic sentence. Now, let's look at the details. And we start out with number 1 first. That's our first detail. First, try to distance yourself by suddenly becoming busier than usual. Second, that is detail number 2. Second, calmly tell the other person that that's how you are feeling. Next, that's detail 3. Next, gently let him or her know that you do not want to be together anymore. Then, detail number 4. Then, make sure to be sensitive of his or her feelings and answer any questions that he or she may have. For example, if the person starts to cry, use kind words to help comfort him or her. After everything is said and done, take some alone time for yourself because everyone has feelings to sort out after a breakup. Finally, that is our conclusion. We're closing it out. Go out with friends and meet new people. With these 5 steps, it will make the breakup process smoother for both parties. So the biggest thing we're learning in this writing unit is when we organize our details, we do detail 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally. So here we have it. Detail 1 first, detail 2 second, detail 3 is with next, detail 4 then, and then our last detail 5 is finally. So whenever you're writing a paragraph and you want to go into your details, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we start it with first, second, next, then, and end it with finally. So again, we're not going to practice this in the book, but it's good information to know because we will do it in Unit 4. Okay, and just to remember, whenever you're making a paragraph, think of a sandwich or hamburger. Your topic sentence is always your top bread. Then you have your supporting sentence, that's your detail, number 1. Detail number 2. Detail number 3, and your conclusion sentence is your last bread. So remember, you have 2 breads, and then your details, that's the meat, the lettuce, all of it. And see how you have the top bread and the low bread? because your topic sentence and your conclusion sentence are usually the same thing. These two are always the same thing. And then your support goes in the middle. And remember, we just learned for our support, we do first, second, next, then, and finally. So if we say detail sentence number 1, we say first. Detail sentence number 2, we say second. Detail sentence number 3, we can use, next or then, whichever one we want. But when you write your paragraph, always remember, you're making a burger paragraph. Bread, topic sentence, details, conclusion sentence. Okay. Now, cultural note. So I did say that we're going to talk about how to ask for time off in our listening and speaking unit. So one thing to know is that in the United States, pretty much at almost every job, companies have a policy or rules where employees and workers can ask for time off to do certain things. They can ask for time off to go on vacation. They can ask for time off if they're sick, or they can ask for time off if they have an emergency. Each company has a different way how they give you time off and how you can ask for time off. For example, here at Dallas College, at my day job, if I need to take the day off, I email my supervisor asking them, hey, I need to take a day off because I have to go to the doctor. He says, okay, great. And he approves it. I filled out a paper that cuts my time from my paycheck, and that is it. But if I'm going to ask for vacation, I have to look at the calendar to see who else is on vacation, to make sure that it doesn't go at the same time as other people, because at least one person has to be at the office. That's how my area does it at Dallas College. Every company is different. But whenever you're asking for time off, you usually have to ask your supervisor or your boss to let them know that you're not able to come into work. So we're going to practice how to ask for time off in our listening section. Then we're going to move on to grammar. So in grammar, we're going to talk about adjectives or noun phrases plus your infinitive. So what's an adjective? An adjective is a word that describes a noun. So for example, if I have a noun of Fabiola, my name is a noun, the word Fabiola is a noun. An adjective would be, how do you describe Fabiola? Fabiola is short. Short is my adjective. It describes the noun of Fabiola. Another noun would be the class. Class is a noun. And an adjective, how would I describe your class? Smart. Smart is my adjective. It's describing my class, the noun of class. So that's an adjective. Then we have noun phrases. So noun phrases is a word or a group of words that act in a sentence as a subject, object, or preposition object. So you remember the fall behind? That is a noun phrase, and we're going to learn how to use that. Then we have the infinitive. So what's an infinitive? An infinitive is the base verb and the word to next to it. Let's look at some examples about that. Okay, so here we have. So let's say I want to use a noun phrase, and I want to include and then I'll add my infinitive to it. So remember, I said a noun phrase is a noun plus another word that describes it. So for example, if I say pencil, that's my noun. Sharp is my adjective. I put them together as the sharp pencil. That is now a noun phrase because I brought adjective of sharp and pencil together, and that gave me a noun phrase. Another example, I have the noun of boy, and then I have the adjective of little. Bring them together and I can make the little boy. Or I have the noun of puppy and the adjective of happy. Put them together, the happy puppy. The happy puppy is my noun phrase. But look how they have them. Your adjective goes first. You do your adjective first, then your noun. That is how you know that the word is a noun phrase, because the adjective goes first. The little boy, the happy puppy, the pencil, the sharp pencil. So that's how we set it up. Let's see. So now, here's how we use it in a sentence. We use it in a sentence by saying, I saw a black zebra at school. Black zebra is my noun phrase. Zebra is my noun. Black is my adjective. Put them together. Adjective plus noun. I get noun phrase. I saw a black zebra at the zoo. So we know that's our noun phrase. Now let's add the infinitive. So remember, an infinitive is the word to plus a verb. An example, an infinitive. To, and then the verb walk. To walk is my infinitive. I have to, and then I have the verb eat. To eat is my infinitive. I have to, and then the verb read. To read is my infinitive. Put them together in a sentence. The officer returned to help the inspectors. To help is my infinitive in this sentence. So that's how we do an infinitive. So let's look how the structure is set up. We start the sentence by saying that we start it with an adjective or a noun phrase. Then we put our subject, and then we do our infinitive. So let's look at a sentence. So that's how we follow it up. Adjective or noun phrase, subject, then your infinitive. Let's put it all together. So remember, we start with a we start with a adjective or noun phrase, subject, and infinitive. So if I give you the noun and the adjective of idea and good, we have the subject as me, then we have the verb as study, and then the rest of the sentence will say for the test. We're going to put the sentence as, we start with our sentence with it is. We put our noun phrase together, idea and good, a good idea. Subject is me, so we do for me. Our infinitive, we need our verb of study, so we put the to study, and whatever's left in your sentence. That gives us the sentence of, it is a good idea for me to study for the test. A good idea is my noun phrase. To study is my infinitive. Or we can contract it and say, it's a good idea for me to study for the test. Subject is me. That's our subject, our infinitive to study, and our noun phrase, a good idea. That's how we put the whole sentence together. Okay, so we have more examples. If we have the adjective of importance, we would put it in a sentence. It is important for you to ask for time off in advance. Or we can say, it is important to ask for time off in advance. Our infinitive is to ask. Look at where we put it in our sentence. We put our adjective first. We put our subject, you, then our infinitive to ask. But in example number 2, we took away our subject. So when you're making this type of sentence, you can get rid of the subject if you want and just say, it is important, adjective, infinitive, to ask for time off in advance. Both ways are correct. You can include your subject or you can drop it off. Let's look at one example with a noun phrase. So we have a noun phrase, a good idea. And we're still using our infinitive to ask. So here we say, it is a good idea for you to ask for time off in advance. And the first one, we included our subject, you. We have our noun phrase, a good idea, and then our infinitive to ask. But the other way we can say it is we get rid of our subject, and we can just do our noun phrase and infinitive. It is a good idea to ask for time off in advance. Same thing. Let's do another example. This time we're going to use the adjective of difficult, which difficult means hard, something that's hard. And now we're going to use the infinitive to talk. So the sentence says, it is difficult, adjective, for me, subject, to talk, infinitive, to my child's teacher. Now, if we want to say that same sentence in a different way, we get rid of the subject and we just say, it is difficult to talk to my child's teacher. And we just put our adjective and our infinitive together and get rid of the subject. So that's what we're going to work on when we meet next week in Unit 3 for grammar, for adjective, noun phrase, and the infinitive. Okay. So then we're going to continue with listening and speaking. In that lesson, we're going to learn how to communicate with a child's teacher. I believe in the unit, we're going to look at a student's report card and an email that the teacher sends to the parent. So just so you guys know, in the U.S., most of the time, this is how students are given their grades for the class. An A means excellent, the best grade you can get, and it's usually 95 or higher. B means pretty good, and that's an 85 or higher. A C, that's average, that's about normal, the medium. It's 70 or higher. A D is not that good. It's a little bit bad, but it's still okay, which is 65 and higher. It means that it's a warning. You're in danger of not passing. And then an F, which is 64 or less, that means you're failing. F is for failing. So at the bottom, I have the examples. When they do a letter grade, passing is an A, B, or C, or D. Failing is an F, and then average, which is the middle, is a C, which is okay, you're okay. You're not passing that good, but you're not failing. So we're going to see that when we go into the communication with the teacher and we see the report card in the lesson. This is just talking about the report card. We can skip it. And then in listening, we're going to look at a conversation about bullying. So what is a bully? A bully is a person who bothers another person and will not stop. Usually the bully is stronger and the victim is weaker. Bullying can be emotional or physical. So a bully can be, it's someone who's mean to another person. That's what they call them, bully. Plural, it's bullies if it's more than one. It's when they make fun of another kid or make them feel bad. So in this lesson, in this listening and speaking lesson, we're going to learn how we're going to practice a conversation about bullies. And the reason why that's part of our lesson is because in the United States, bullying is a big problem. There's a lot of kids who suffer from other kids making fun of them or hurting their feelings or hitting them. So it is a big problem in the U.S. That's why it's part of your unit. If you ever experience your kids getting bullied or your kid is a bully, this will help teach you how to handle it a little bit better and how to work with the school if it's happening at school. Bullying can happen anywhere. It can also happen with brothers and sisters, but it'll help us kind of learn more about it. Then we're going to move on to pronunciation. So in pronunciation, we're going to practice how to speak past tense. So things that happened before this moment. When you're pronouncing words in past tense, you usually add an extra syllable at the end. So if you have a verb and it ends with a D or a T, at the end of the verb, we add the ED, but we pronounce it as id. For example, We have the verb want, but we're talking about the past. So we make it want, ed, wanted. But when we pronounce it, we say want-id. We write it with the ed, but we pronounce it id, wanted. That's how we're going to practice pronouncing those past tense verbs. If the verb ends in a vowel sound or a voice consonant, we don't pronounce the ed as id, we pronounce it as d. So, for example, if I have the verb clean and we make it past tense with ed, we're going to pronounce it cleaned. Not clean, but cleaned. Different from wanted, cleaned. So no id, it's the, cleaned. And we're going to practice that. But just so you know, we're going to practice that past tense. Then when we get back to grammar, we are going to talk about the simple past. You notice that before that we practiced how to do past tense verbs, how to pronounce id and duh in our verbs. And now we're going to learn how we use those sentences. So we use past tense, simple past, when we're talking about an action that has already happened. And what we do is at the base verb, we add the ed at the end. If the verb already has an e, we just add a d to it. Now, this is English, so as you know, we have irregulars. I don't like irregulars, but they happen. If you have an irregular verb, we do not add the ed. We change it completely. So there's a lot of irregulars. We'll go over a little bit of them, but the most common one you're going to see is the past tense of be. Past tense of be is was. And you use it when you have the subjects of I, she, he, or it. But if we have the subjects of they and you, we use the past tense of be as were. And we'll practice this, so don't get scared. We'll practice it in the book. But that's the simple past. So, pronouncing the simple past. We practiced it a little bit over here where we do the id and the duh. We're going to practice it a little more in this unit. So, one example is we're going to look at is if someone asks who hit you, we're asking about, in this sentence, who hit you? We ask the subject when you is the object. If we say, who did you hit? We're asking about the object of your hitting. So that's where the difference is. If I say, who hit you? I want to know the person that caused something to you. If I ask, who did you hit? I'm asking the action that you, the person, did. Who did it fall on? So we'll practice this a little more. It won't be as difficult as this. I want you to know the difference between asking the question, who hit you? Who did you hit? We'll practice it a little more in the pronunciation in the book. Simple past. So again, we're going to keep with the simple past. Remember, regular verbs, we put the past tense of ed at the end. Irregular past tense, we do not put the ed, we change the word. For example, be becomes was or were. I'm going to play the video so you guys can see and get it going. we'll skip the practice because you are not here. But that was an example of our simple past tense. We'll do more examples in the book. All right, let's keep going. So, and this is the last part of the unit. We won't go over this in the book, so I will talk about it here. It is the work life away family life. So basically, everyone works, everyone has a home life. What you do at home, you normally don't do it at the job. What you do at the job, you do not do at home. So that's something to always keep practice. A big thing that everyone wants to always remember is to keep your home life and your work life separated, apart from each other, because that can help you not be so stressed at home and at work. There's no crossover. There's no drama at work because the people at work do not know what happens at home. And you keep a healthy environment both at your house and at work. So it's sometimes hard, but we always try our best to keep those two worlds separate. But that's what the last lesson in Unit 3 talks about. So take a minute to review this video, repeat it, take notes, and then when we meet on class next week, we'll go over the lesson and we'll start working straight on the book for Unit 3. All right, see you next week.